Welcome to the Nerd Party. Time and Space, a Doctor Who podcast. I'm Jessica Nunn.
And I'm her husband and co-host, Philip Gilfus. Well, darling, it's time to say goodbye.
Okay, bye.
To companions.
Oh, sorry. I totally misunderstood that. I was halfway out the door.
Yes, it's that time. It's becoming a recurring theme. I think we're very fascinated with companion goodbyes.
Yes, and these will be interesting ones.
Right, well, we're going to be...
And I'm sad about it.
Yes, and we haven't actually seen it yet. We're just anticipating it. We're, of course, talking about the announcement, the official announcement. It's been talked about for a little bit, that the 13th Doctor will be losing two of her companions that will not join her in the next series, with the departure of Bradley Walsh and Tosin Cole, their respective parts of Graham and Ryan. So we'll be talking about those two characters and what it means to lose them for the 13th Doctor series. And we'll also be talking about, in our Inside the TARDIS library, our listening to David Tennant Does a podcast with
Billie Piper.
And some other guests that he's had on for his Season 2 podcast.
Yes.
But let's start at the beginning. So, of course, the holiday season has begun, and the official trailer, or teaser, or whatever it is, has dropped for the festive special, as they kept insisting on calling it, which I always knew was going to be a New Year's Day. But anyway, Revolution of the Daleks.
Yes, another Dalek episode. We've just watched a Dalek episode, baby.
We did, with the fourth Doctor. Well, what'd you think of the trailer?
Yeah, really interesting. One of the biggest things that we learn, of course, is that this is a very companion-centric episode.
Yeah.
It appears that the Doctor is spending a considerable amount of her time locked up somewhere.
Mm-hmm. In prison.
So that will be very interesting.
And, of course, the return of Captain Jack.
Yes.
I guess the return of Captain Jack.
Yeah.
Well, I thought something was like, oh, he's back for the first one. Like, he was in 5 episodes ago, but yeah, I get it. But yeah.
Yeah, but just sort of vaguely.
No, I know. And my complaint at the time was that it was too little of him. And of course, we were all like, he's going to come back, right? He's going to come back, right?
And here he is. Yeah. He's back. Guess who's back?
That's right.
Back again. It works perfectly. A little bit of Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, so anyway.
And John Barrowman would appreciate Backstreet Boys.
I'm sure he would.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah, we've had, I like how they just changed a letter. We had last year I guess last year was just called Resolution, but I think in everyone's mind it was Resolution of the Daleks, and now we have Revolution.
Whoa.
How can we change one more letter next year? What else could it possibly be? Revolution. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's like playing crossword puzzles. I don't know.
We got it wrong. It's not wrong. All right, well, let's get into it. So let's talk about Graham and Ryan.
All right.
So which one would you like to talk about first?
Let's go with Graham first.
Okay, Graham O'Brien.
Yep.
Of course, played by Bradley Walsh, who you were very hesitant about when first announced.
I really, really was, and now I'm so sad to see him go. I've become the quintessential Doctor Who fan.
That's right.
Who, anytime you get a new Doctor, you're like, no, not my Doctor, not my Doctor. And then as they're on their way out, you're like, but what do I do? This was the Doctor I loved the best. And that's just who I am now, apparently.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what you think about Graham's growth, or just his character in and of itself these past 2 series.
Yeah, like I say, I really like the character. I like Bradley Walsh's portrayal of the character. I think watching him work through grief and watching him work through his relationship with Ryan, I've enjoyed it. I've always wanted more of it, but I feel like that's the story we got the most of from all the companions.
And I thought it was interesting. We don't often get, and not that there has to be, I suppose, but we don't often get a sort of reason for traveling with the Doctor. Other than it's like, oh, well, you get to travel in time and space. Who wouldn't say no? And maybe that's true. You know, the sense of adventure. That's usually adventure. But, I mean, his has sort of literally been, I mean, he said it explicitly, I think, at some point. This is his mourning period. You know, what am I going to do? Sit around the house and mope and see Grace and all that, you know, everywhere that I look, you know. So for him, there was sort of a purpose to this. I mean,
yeah, and I think he's also gotten, even through his grief, he's also gotten this second chance at life by going into remission. And so there's a combination of mourning the dead, but also celebrating his own life. And I think that plays a part into it as well.
Yeah, and certainly there's the relationship with Ryan, which, you know, I enjoy. But I think he probably would have gone even if Ryan wasn't there. I mean, just as long as every other factor was the same, you know?
Yes.
I mean, I think it was a good hook for him, but, you know, it just sort of was more than already there was.
Have we ever had, and maybe I'm hitting this early in the discussion, but have there ever been companions with ties to each other? I mean, obviously, Amy and Rory, I suppose.
Right. You could go through all of Classic Who. You know, obviously, I know you're not meaning Susan, of course.
No.
But you mean
two companions, yeah.
So, as I go through every single companion that's ever existed in my entire head here.
I mean, you also have Ricky Mickey, but he's sort of a half companion.
Well, and I think there haven't often been more than one companion. I mean, there has been. Let me modify that statement. In recent decades, there has not been more. You know, so First Doctor had a lot.
Yep.
Second Doctor, as you've seen, usually has two.
Yes.
You know, it's usually Jamie and young lady. You know, and then the Fifth Doctor, who we haven't gotten to, tends to be the first really crowded TARDIS. I mean, the First Doctor had it too, but the first really crowded TARDIS. You know, I mean, Ian and Barbara were teachers together, but that's not what you mean. I know. You mean like some familial friend. But other than co-teachers.
Well, I mean, presumably they were mates. I mean, they do end up leaving together, right?
Yeah, I think it's implied.
Yeah. So.
As much as you could and whatever.
Yeah, you get a little bit of TARDIS romance.
Yeah, and then people are still going over the statement, which I don't take it this way, and if I'm wrong, it's not that I have a problem with being it. I just don't take it that way, that in the Sarah Jane funeral special, there's the line about Nis and Tegan, where a lot of people have interpreting that as them being a couple. I didn't take it that way. I just think they're always together, and so they're probably still together even as, you know, older ladies. But people took it that they're together, which is fine. I just think it's interesting to read that. Some people are like, oh.
Hey, people want to ship things.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
But no, I think, like I said, this is probably the stronger connection, absent your Amy and Rory of it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought but Graham brought sort of an interesting perspective, you know, and you could characterize it better than I have, but his background, I mean, they're all, you know,
working class.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm reading the Christopher Eccleston book, so don't say that word.
Sorry.
Sheffield. I was trying to remember where they were from.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know if that's his character. I think it's from Essex. But anyway. But they all bring that sort of sensibility. But he brings that older sensibility of that area and that background. And, which and again, I'm American. I don't know what I'm talking about here. But, I think it's a different generation, a little bit. Like, it's not rough. It's not, there's no stereotype. And, of course, the truth is that more than a stereotype. But, I mean, he's very, he brings, I think, a good perspective. He's very good-natured. He's open for anything.
But also very grounded.
Yeah, he wants a sandwich every now and then.
Yep. You grow up in the Thatcher years, man.
So, but, bringing that sort of ex-bus driver, man of the people. He's probably the most people person of the crew.
Yeah.
Including the Doctor.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So, yeah, I mean, Orion and Yaz are a bit young, and I don't think either of them are necessarily extroverts. In fact, I don't think that they're both probably slightly introverted, to tell you the truth, with their own challenges. They have that sort of young, and I say this as like a 40-year-old now, they have that young thing of being self-involved about their problems and challenges and worries and, Graham's seen it all. Whatever. Let's just get on with it.
Grab your bootstraps. Let's go.
Yeah. But are there any particular moments or episodes of Graham that stick out? I'll start with one just while you're thinking. I think an obvious one, and by obvious I don't mean an obvious moment, but like an obvious moment that you think Graham would have. But I thought they handled it better than I thought perhaps they would, because, I really do like the 13th Doctor series, but I'm afraid I am starting to fall a bit into that. What is Chibnall doing? But we're staying positive. But it was the Scandinavian one.
Oh, right, yeah.
Where there was the Grace double in the opposite universe.
The frog, yeah.
Yeah, in the Frogiverse. And, we've seen this in I've seen this in sci-fi or whatever. There's the double, and are you tempted to stay? But I thought it was very, maturely handled. Like, he knew it wasn't her, but, it was also a version of her. And so, are you tempted to stay? And, of course, she said something against, Ryan, and that's when he's like, shooting it. But I don't know, the way he acted it, I guess, is maybe what I'm talking about. Perhaps it was something very stereotypical scenario, but just the way he handled it. Like, you could tell he knew it wasn't her. But, he was still trying to figure out what was going on. And then it didn't take much for him to figure out, no, you're not. That's not how you treat Ryan.
Yeah. I'm going to go more overarching. And again, one of my concerns coming into this was, first of all, we didn't need an old white guy. We've had plenty. But it was also concern about Bradley Walsh himself, who tends to be a rather broad character personally. Mm-hmm. He's a game show host, and that all comes with the territory. And so I think my favorite thing about Graham has actually been Bradley Walsh's nuance. Grief and this unstable relationship with his step-grandson and all of those things could have been played much broader. But I feel like he really kept it very low-key. It was always there, but it wasn't so big that it engulfed all of us.
Yeah, he's really, and I don't mean this in a bad way, he's almost the background of the three companions. I mean, almost literally when I visualize them, imagine Graham standing in the back.
Standing back, yeah.
But I mean, I think he does it well. I mean, he's there when he needs to be. He's not when he doesn't need to be. I mean, I think it was sort of a very Goldilocks use of that character. Mm-hmm. I mean, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure others may have different opinions. I mean, we can talk about the Yaz of it all, but, who's never used.
Yeah.
But so you could say, well, he's overused compared to her, but, like the TARDIS or, any prop that were used more than Yaz is. But
well,
anyway.
and I think that his story out of the three of them was the most fleshed out.
Yeah.
I think we know a lot more about Graham than we know about either Ryan or Yaz. Mm-hmm. And again, that leads into my concern, which in that particular case is a little bit justified at least, of really, the old white guy's the one we know the most about?
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
We know, if you're looking at a hierarchy, we know most about Graham, and then Ryan, and then Yaz, mm-hmm. I think. And of course, that's been a frustration for us all the way through. But what he does with the material, I think, is lovely to watch.
And, I mean, I feel like we've talked about it before, so we can give it short shrift if you want. But the Ryan and Graham of it, seeing that evolution, which I think it's mostly been on Ryan's side. I think, Graham has been constant. Hey, I want to reach out. I want to talk about Grace if you want to talk about Grace.
But constant in a way that you would expect a parent to be.
Right. Because I think, to me, the most of that relationship, calling him grandpa or whatever. But to me, I think the interesting, and I'm sure it's awkward, not obviously ever been in that situation, of having to be assertive with a family member when you're a step relation, and I'm talking about his dad, Ryan's dad, of where Graham has to, I don't mean for lack of a better word, step up to him about, this isn't his son. He's been spending time with, Ryan, obviously, and whatever ownership he wants to proclaim that relationship to have, but, talking to Ryan's, I forget his name, but Ryan's dad, Mr. Sinclair, very well done, I think. Because, it can be all, especially, you have to the extent you want to see the race issue, but then just the relational step issue, telling him how to be a dad, all those things,
Yeah, absolutely. But again, I think nuanced. It wasn't a, bugger off. It wasn't a confrontational thing. And the character really gets to take that. He's very measured. So, yeah, I'm going to be sad.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see.
Well, do you want to even engage in speculation of how he will leave?
If they die, I'm going to be mad.
I was thinking to myself when this topic came up, I think it's in my opinion, very easy for both of them, but, we'll pick Graham for the moment, for them just to leave, to find something to hook onto on Earth and live a life, maybe, I don't know, whatever, something. But
I'm concerned his cancer's going to come back. That has always been my concern. That was my concern last year at the... Yeah.
I'm not... But then I was... And again, I don't want to be this negative Nelly, but I feel like I'm doing a Discovery podcast here. It's... I don't trust Chibnall to do that. He likes killing people. He likes tragedy. He's going to
chuck him off a cliff, isn't he?
It's just... It's not... Anyway, but we always kill off or... We kill companions, or we do this sort of weird... They're dead, but then they're puddles of water, whatever. And just you could just Martha it or something, I'm done.
I'm going off to do my own thing, man.
Yeah. Because again, I think, and again, without seeing what this special will do, if you were to accept the whole it's his mourning period, and something clicks, some event happens... Morning over. He's not going to forget Grace, is what I'm saying. But just
he's not going to meet some bird.
Well, who knows? But yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
so.
I'm worried they're going to bring his cancer back, and that's why they both go.
That's poops.
I know.
All right. Well, let's talk about Ryan. Then we've talked a little bit about him.
All right.
What's your first and overall impressions of Mr. Young Sinclair?
Again, lots of interesting. The dyspraxia story has gotten so much. So many kudos, I guess, which I think is great. And again, dealt with very subtly. It wasn't a big thing. It came up every now and then. He's got to climb a ladder, and that's tricky for him. But it doesn't... It is not his defining trait. Right. It is not something we deal with in every episode, those sorts of things. So I think that's been amazing. I love him. I just think he's adorable. I want to give him snuggles. So, I don't want him to go either.
He's, not always, but he's often the comic relief character, which is not always a good thing.
But not necessarily in a slapdash kind of way,
right.
Or slapstick. Slapstick was definitely the word I was going for. Sorry. It's not a broad. Oh, I've fallen down again because I've got dyspraxia. Which could have been a direction that they went with. He just tends to have a lighter perspective.
Mm-hmm. I think and it's all in how it's used, because, you hate, well, I say that. I was going to say you hate any character to be comic relief, and that's not true, of course. But, he's a character which you would hope can have serious sides and have depth, and not just be like, go-to joke, something bad happens to Ryan, haha. Which I don't think they do that. But I do think he's most often used for a light moment. And it can go both ways. Something good, something bad. Like, for instance, there's the I think, a memorable line of his time, is like, hold on, Rosa Parks, I need to talk to Martin Luther King. He's like, oh, whoa. That's a cute little moment. But then, like, when I forget even what happens. What does he get frozen, or when they're on? It's the bad episode, the Orphan 2055, whatever it is. Is he and the girl?
Oh, right.
And they have like something. What do they do? Something with gum or something where they get frozen or get.
Yeah,
I forget. That's another comic moment where something bad happens to Ryan.
Yeah.
And it's few and far, but often he's the go-to for a light moment. Like, there's not many jokey Yaz lines, or I have a few jokey Graham lines, but not really. So
yeah.
So I think he brings a certain spirit, and he has that innocence, and not a naive, but he has, like you said, he also has that innocent face that often goes with that.
And I think it is a little bit of naivete in terms of this whole new world that they're exploring. And he has more of a sense of wonder, I think, than the other two do. And again, for all of this, and I don't want to see either one of them go. I just love them. But the TARDIS is crowded. And
got to fit all those guest stars in there.
Yeah. and I do sort of feel like, there were choices that were made, and they could have been like, no, let's make this more TARDIS central. We've got 4 characters here. Let's work with them. Or we can chuck some out of the TARDIS. And I don't know necessarily that it's the right decision, but I hope it means that we'll get more in-depth from both the Doctor and Yaz. I mean, there are a lot of ways in which I feel I don't know who Jodie's Doctor is yet. Because of the combination of the TARDIS is too crowded and they keep bringing in all these guest stars. So, and I don't know. I mean, they are definitively bringing in a guest star for this one.
That's right.
So, I don't know what that, is this going to be completely Jack-centric? Which, don't get me wrong, I love me some Captain Jack. But.
And then it goes to what you were saying earlier, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm thinking, let me finish the thought. The bad thing is it a bad thing if the Doctor is not really in the episode? If she's stuck in jail, or that just has her jail storyline. Meanwhile, the companions have their companion, which they've done before with this series. Yaz and Ryan doing Secret Agent in Spyfall, and other stuff too. I can't remember the name of the episode where like everyone was on a different part of Earth. And that was, too much a little bit, but it was, a concept that, they all can handle their own adventures. And so they're all at this point in the story, everyone's pretty capable of doing everything. But yeah, I don't know, but then do you want a more combined adventure? I mean, Doctor Who's always been split the party. Doctor has a story, companion has a story.
and depending on, and maybe here's the problem, is that I don't trust the writing yet.
Yeah, and I hate to say that, but yeah.
So it could be that they're putting Doctor in the corner so that they can focus on the companions and give Ryan and Graham the exit they deserve.
Hopefully not death.
And hopefully not death, and then drawing Yaz more out. And I'd love the idea of seeing Yaz and Captain Jack, because she's not having it and he's totally trying to have it, which I just love.
Well, that'd be the first woman not to be interested in Jack at all.
Yeah, I don't see her, I can see him being all sorts of flirty and her being like, no.
I think more of an age thing now that I think about it. I was like, she's a little young for you, Jack.
Yeah, but let's be honest.
A little old for you, yes.
It's Jack. It's Jack. So if it's done well, then next season we've got the Doctor and Yaz, and we can learn all sorts of things about both of them. Hooray! I don't know that I trust the writing to do that. Yeah,
and the, look, obviously I don't have a problem and think they should do it, but then it's like, what, 2 women? That's it? Where's the man in this? So.
I would like all of our listeners to note that I am just blinking owlishly at my husband.
I don't know enough about British drama that they usually, how many have 2 women? I mean, I hope they do, but you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely fabulous.
I mean, okay.
That was
I did say drama, didn't I?
Off the top of my head.
Didn't I say drama?
I don't know. I stopped listening ages ago.
But I would just, I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully BBC is very progressive now, but I just like, well, two women? I don't understand. And we don't know whether they're going to include any new companions next series. We don't know.
I hope not.
I hope not, too. I mean, I think Yaz is good, what we've seen from her, and hope to learn more, and like you said, the Doctor.
And neither of them are. I mean, the thing is that Ryan has been our stereotypical companion.
In some ways, yeah. He doesn't scream. Well, he does a little bit sometimes. But
yes. He is our metaphorical screamer.
Yes.
He's the one who gets into the little bit of trouble.
Yes.
If somebody's going to get into trouble, you can pretty much guarantee it's going to be Ryan.
Yeah.
If somebody's going to need some sort of rescuing, you can pretty much guarantee it's going to be Ryan.
Right.
If Yaz gets in trouble, she's going to get herself out of it.
She's usually with the Doctor anyway.
Yeah. But I think that lends itself to having two women in the TARDIS without people wondering where the man is.
Right.
And unfortunately, Harry has passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to be able to bring him in to be our masculine role until we realize we don't need one.
Anything else about Ryan? We got to see sort of we talked about sort of his dad when we talked about Graham, but sort of his family situation, losing his mother, and then, in effect, losing his father, and then losing his grandmother, but I don't know, he I think, did it well, I mean, character-wise, ups and downs, but I think, even, and it's a generational thing, because I don't pretend to know his generation, but, that he handled it well, it wasn't like an angry young man, like, might be a stereotype or something, but, he was very reflexive, mature, and handled it as, and then got drawn out a little bit eventually by Graham and the Doctor and Yaz, and, had a peer with Yaz to talk to.
Yeah,
so.
But also had that parental stability in the old white guy, which, no matter how problematic that stereotype potentially could be, the steadfastness of a parental figure, I think, has helped keep Ryan steady in a lot of ways, and I think that's been a positive thing.
And you were talking about him as a stereotypical companion. I mean, I'd say this seriously. I would accept him doing the stereotypical companion exit and meeting someone. Because he's not had any romances. I mean,
he met that girl on the weird orphan planet.
And that turned out weird. Yeah, but he's I think
definitely had a man crush on Martin Luther King Jr.
So, I don't think Yaz really has had a romance either, I suppose, if we're going to be equal about all things here. But yeah, I feel like Ryan could meet someone, and that could be his, I'm going to figure out what goes on here now.
Yeah. While my step-grandpa goes through cancer treatments again.
There you go. I mean, for all we know, Ryan had a girlfriend the whole time, just like he always had a basketball best friend the whole time. The whole time.
The whole time, baby. Oh, he's married, has 4 children. Which is...
The whole time.
It's just never come up.
Oh, goodness. Oh.
And now he's like Hawkeye in the Avengers.
We're going to go to the the Roseverse, where we meet the alternate Ryan.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I think at some point we really do need to do a Doctor Who Avengers crossover.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's the special's going to be 70 minutes, I saw.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting. And, like I said, Daleks, so... I'm doing hands in frustration there.
Yeah. Yeah, not my first choice, but we'll see.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I haven't watched it in a hot second, but I thought Resolution was good. Of course, it's just one Dalek, but I thought they handled that well. So
yeah.
This it'll be more than one.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder if they'll be colorful like Matt Smith's Daleks.
Well, we've seen them a little bit. I don't know if you paid. They were on the cover of something, Radio Times or something. And they look a little bit, I don't know if you remember the Resolution Daleks, where it's a little more, it's not that smooth. It's a little stockier there. You know, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
So, yeah.
Not the really short guys that have to crawl around on their knees. These are things we learn when we watch Classic Who, yo.
All right. Well, any final thoughts before we eventually see the exit of Graham and Ryan, other than we hope that they don't die?
I just hope it's good.
Yeah.
I just hope it's good. Both of them are such brilliant actors, both of whom have been underused. I hope it's good. Tosin's going on to something, isn't he?
Yeah, I was trying to Google before we started this, because I thought I saw you had some... I remember a few months ago, now maybe the production world has changed, but he had some American thing that he was starring in.
Yeah, I was thinking there was some sort of gig that presumably he was heading off towards.
And then, of course, I guess Bradley's going to keep on doing his chase.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
But anyway.
Which, fingers crossed, Richard will go on. We need to follow that up and see if he's gotten on it. Richard, let us know.
All right, well, with that, let's go into the TARDIS library.
Whoosh, 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 whoosh.
When you close your eyes,
I go to the library.
go to the library now.
And now we're going to talk about the podcast we've been listening to for, I guess, more than 1 year now.
Yeah.
And that's
2 years now.
David Tennant Does a Podcast with... ... Yes. David Tennant has a podcast, for those who don't know. I'm sure you all do.
I hope so, because if not, you're missing out. It's just delightful.
Yeah, it's just basically an interview chat with mostly people he knows, but I'm sure we've listened to a few people that I think he's not the most familiar with. But probably that's not true. So I was trying to think of... I'm blanking on her name, from Jessica Jones, but of course they worked in Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
So that was stupid of me. But anyway, like Stacey Abrams, he doesn't know
Jennifer Garner.
Yeah.
Was a strange one.
Yeah. And so we haven't listened to all the episodes, because, some people I find more interesting than others.
Hey, I might want to listen to some of those. Who are we missing?
I don't have to look them up. But the ones we've listened to in his season 2 include, in no particular order, Stacey Abrams. I suppose I'll provide context for people who don't know. Stacey Abrams, who's from Georgia, here in the United States, very active political worker. Judi Dench, of course. Billie Piper. Neil Gaiman. And then Tim Minchin. So any particular interviews or... generally, what do you think of David's style as a interviewer, podcast host, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, no, I like it. It feels very laid back. Mm-hmm. Like it's just a couple of people chatting for the most part. Mm-hmm. Obviously, David sort of leads the discussion a bit at times, but then he also gives some of his own stuff. So, yeah, it feels a little bit like a give and take, and feels like he works hard to make everybody comfortable.
I think there are times, I think his interview style is a bit new. And that, like, sometimes I'll ask questions, I'm like, well, that's obvious, don't ask him that, Dave. Like, stuff that, not that it's rude, though sometimes, but I assume he knows the person, so it's fine, to be like, I can't even think of an example, be like, oh, it must have been hard growing up, or he must have had, it was like, don't ask that. I'm sure they've been asked that, I'm like, but I'm sure he knows them, so it's not going to be awkward.
Yeah.
Or it's awkward and they just answer anyway, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, any particular the guests that you were surprised or not surprised or?
I was surprised by Tim Minchin again because it seems like he knows people. Mm-hmm. You sort of play the 6 degrees of separation. How does David Tennant know this person? And I don't have a clue how he knows Stacey Abrams, but I also don't have a clue how he knows Tim Minchin. Neil Gaiman I got.
I think
Billie Piper I know.
I don't know. I'm just saying this off the top of my head. I think it's a bit of fan. He's a fan of Stacey Abrams, and Stacey Abrams is a huge nerd, so she's definitely a fan of him. So I mean, it's sort of that like and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I'm a star. Who would I want to talk to? And so David's like, I'd love to talk to Stacey Abrams, and so
and turns out she'd love to talk to him. Yes. So it works out. Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, for folks who don't know, Stacey Abrams is a huge nerd. Big Star Trek fan.
Huge nerd.
Big Doctor Who fan. Yeah.
It's delightful.
She has some opinions about Buffy I don't agree with. But, she's a huge nerd. Yeah, I thought...
Well, I'm also interested, in the choice of Stacey Abrams for a British show.
That's true. I mean, certainly the American election, obviously, has been very worldwide attention, but, Britain as well. So I guess that was probably, as I think of it, probably his one way. One thing we didn't listen to, I think he did do a bit with Gordon Brown. Or two,
we listened to Gordon Brown last year.
Because he did a bit with, I don't know if he interviewed Blair, but there was a bit of this season.
Oh, right.
With, I don't know if it was Blair in Iraq or something, but judging from the title, it seemed a bit serious.
Well, I'd like to listen to that one. Why do you hide these things from me, baby?
To keep you interested.
Obviously the American election has been worldwide news, but I don't know how much of Stacey Abrams.
Maybe someone said she's a Doctor Who fan or something.
Yeah. If you are not in depth into politics, like I imagine there's a lot of Americans who don't have a clue who Stacey Abrams is.
And they're the less for it.
They are definitely the less for it. And
if they did,
and it's a little shocking because her work has been so amazing. But if there are that many Americans who don't know who she is, it's an interesting choice. It is a choice that I'm so glad he made, and I loved listening to it. But I don't necessarily understand it.
And like Tim Minchin, who you know better than I do, I thought was interesting.
I've seen him twice in concert.
Yeah. So did that mean a lot, hearing some of the background of how he...
Yeah, actually, I really enjoyed it. And I just always like listening to Tim Minchin talk. I find his voice astonishingly soothing, considering the Australian accent doesn't do a whole lot.
I was about to say the unspoken for an Australian. I was like, Jessica,
an Australian accent is not normally something that I go, I want to listen to more of this all the time. But I find his voice very soothing. There's something quite broad about it. So, something about his inflections and, that I find very soothing.
Yeah, I thought he was very interesting from a creative and artistic standpoint, just hearing too. Because, sometimes, and, when I'm reading about playwright stuff or listening to it, it can, I have the awareness that some of this can sound frou-frou, the way people are talking about artistry.
Yeah.
But, that there is, if you're in the business, I think you can I say business. But anyway, if you're in the field or if you're in the whatever, artistry, you can kind of filter what does sound frou-frou and what does sound, where people come from. And so I thought Tim was very interesting because he talks about his journey is the wrong word, but anyway, his approach. He
would hate that word. Yeah.
Well, his experiences and the way he approaches things and songs and music and.
Yeah, and I think I 100% agree with you about the frou-frou-y. Sometimes listening to actors talk about acting can be really interesting. And then other times it just feels really self-indulgent, and I just get... And in fact, I felt that way a little bit about Billie Piper. Like, it started, and I was really hooked on this story, and then it just started to feel a little bit self-indulgent.
Yeah, and you know more about her than I do, but just like the whole talking about her pop background... And I didn't realize she was that young, but of course, maybe I did, 15. And what that did to her in good ways and bad. And then, I don't because I don't know that much about her, but I didn't know what her years with her
ex-husband, Chris Evans. Like, I didn't know how I don't know anything about that. All I know is what I've heard the press about Chris lately, which has not been great. But... traditionally, he's... Yeah,
but I didn't know how she felt. Like, what was that experience? Whether it was like, we divorced and it's terrible and I don't talk about it anymore or whatever. But she's like, I learned a lot. It was great.
We had fun. We went all over the place.
I mean, I really learned...
drank a lot.
Yeah. Sounded like it was, and I'm hand quoting, good for her after the pop career was over.
Yes.
As a way to sort of do her uni years without going to university.
Yes, yeah. And having somebody there, so she's not spiraling on her own, which I think is a lot of times something that particularly people who start in the business very young end up doing. So, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's... But, yeah...
I think the thing with Billie... And, I mean, I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound terrible. The thing that I don't get with Billie, and I mean this I don't relate to her, she's very about her children, which... Obviously, right? What am I saying? You shouldn't be. But, like, I don't have children. And so that's really means, like, that's the center of her universe, which it is, I'm sure, for many people with children. But, like, that's, like, her everything. Like, half of what she was talking about is her role as a parent, what she's been as a parent, what her children do for her. And I'm like, okay, I mean, good for you. It doesn't, whatever. Yeah. I know it's not like Philip H. children. But, like, that's kind of like, someone's going to talk about their children for, like, 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, well, that's great.
Yeah, and I am going to join you in the pits of hell.
Yeah.
By agreeing. And again, that is, as you say, that is not something that we relate to as people who have chosen not to have children. And so it's perplexing.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's not if you can relate, you can. If you can't, you can't. It's just like any other person or thing, so.
Yeah. And to me, that stuff didn't bother me quite as much as it just... I don't know. And I felt that way about Jessica Jones. Kristen Ritter. Kristen Ritter.
Mm-hmm. She's an odd duck. We'll say that.
She is an odd duck. And it just felt just self-indulgent.
Well, I also felt not self-indulgent, but and I know they met through Good Omens.
Neil Gaiman?
No.
He's actually Michael Sheen?
No.
Now I'm done.
I know, he's doing the whole cast from Mad Men.
Oh, John Hamm.
Hamm. Yeah, he's a guy.
Yeah.
He's a guy. He has opinions about stuff. Whatever, but it's just okay.
I'd forgotten about John Hamm, but yeah. So, and maybe it just depends on the mood I'm in.
Yeah.
As to whether or not I want to listen to... Like, I could listen to Lin-Manuel talk about his process for ages.
Right.
I could just sit... But Tom Hiddleston, whom I absolutely adore, I sometimes get tired of listening to him talk about his method.
Well, this is going to be a broad statement. Is it more eye-based versus... influence-based. Like, in other words, I feel like Lynn... David, talk to Lynn. But, like, Lynn doesn't talk about himself. I mean, you talk about business, you talk about R&B, you talk about rap, you talk about Broadway, you talk about his parents, you talk about Puerto Rico, you talk about his neighborhood. You want to be like, this is what you might talk about how he writes and he talk about working with his cabinet. It's not very I, me, I think, me, and all that.
Well, and sometimes it tends to be... It just feels more grounded, like talking about, what was it, Wait For It, that he was like, I was on the train to a friend's birthday party, and so, and I got this inspiration, and I just had to record it on my phone, and then go to this party for a little while, and that just as opposed to, I've studied for many, many years, and, Stanislavski states in his... okay. Actors. We've read Stanislavski. Whoop, whoop, whoop,
Well, one thing I do enjoy, and I think I'm a sucker for this for almost any field, because we're going to talk about acting here in a second, but like I won't go into it, but there's like a talk radio podcast I listen to that are these radio guys. They're former radio guys. Talk, like FM radio DJs. And I like them when they talk about like their old radio days of like getting fired and like it's just like an interesting experience of like the 80s and 90s. But anyway, talking about acting, like Judi Dench talking about growing up, but her theater experience and different things because and I don't know the woman obviously, but she seemed very regular about it all. I know everyone puts her up on a pedestal and perhaps rightly so, but she seems at least in this interview very down to earth and very plain spoken, and this is my job, and I had this job, and then I had this job, and then this is this experience, and I'm a jobbing actor, whatever. And,
and I think Tim Minchin was sort of the same way. I'm a jobbing musician. I have done amazing things, but this is my job. This is what I do. And if I were writing commercial jingles, I would be the same jobbing musician.
Because the same when he had Ian
McKellen
on for the first season, sort of the same thing, just tales of the old theater days, I think.
Yeah, these are and maybe that's part of my bias is that I have more admiration for those who are like, yeah, no theater.
Well,
put me on a stage, and yeah, I do films, and they make me money. But
see, I think I'll call you out here. I think that's maybe your biggest turnoff about Billie Piper, who's not done theater, which whatever, each their own, it doesn't matter. But her attitude was like, oh, theater, this crazy, strange place, and you're like, okay.
I have to do 8 shows a week. Yeah, and you may be absolutely right. That
You're
could
a theater
be.
snob.
I am a little bit of a theater snob. Yeah, and do not get me wrong. If somebody offered me a film role for a lot of money, I'd absolutely sell my soul for it. But my heart belongs to the boards, yo, and the bard, yo. I don't know.
And so, one of course, the interesting things with David, of course, is that he has his who guest stars on. He's had on Catherine, he's had on Billy. I would love to hear him have Russell T. Davies on there. I don't know.
Well, and Neil Gaiman.
That's true. Doctor Who writer. But yeah. So it's sort of,
they talked about that a bit. Yeah, and talked about working with Stephen Moffat was that. So that was interesting. And I enjoy it. And they completely skipped over all of the scandal that Neil Gaiman is currently going through.
Oh, with his divorce.
Personal life, yeah.
But yeah, it's also very interesting, of course, you get to, if you're into that, through these interviews, you'll get to hear a little bit about David's family and going-ons, and his oldest is getting into acting, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then he and his wife will do all the adverts, so...
Yep.
Very homemade production.
Yes.
I don't like that when couples do stuff, though.
No,
it's
I don't
annoying.
understand.
Yeah.
Again, it's like having children.
Yeah, it's grating. No one wants to hear two couples
that
talk.
get together and talk to each other, and
especially in a Doctor Who context.
Oh yeah. Amy and Rory were stupid.
All right. Well, until next time, we are counting down, of course, till the new year for many reasons. But also,
so many reasons.
But for a new Doctor Who, of course. But until next time, enjoy the Doctor's many adventures throughout time and space.
This is BBC Television.